How's it going? I'm going to go ahead and show you how I smoke my trout. First off, I take a cooler and I fill it up about halfway with water, and then I use 2 pounds of brown sugar, a half a thing of salt, and then I mix it up because the brown sugar takes a second to get all mixed up, and then I go ahead and dump my bags of trout in. So I'm going to rip open my bag of brown sugar here. I already get the water in the cooler. And just go ahead and dump it in. Then I pour in a half a thing, like I said, of salt. I already did a batch before, so there's only half in here currently. Then I mix it up real good. Otherwise the brown sugar just goes ahead and settles at the bottom of the cooler. And you'll see it turns into a real brown, as you can imagine, solution. Then once it's all mixed up nicely, I just dump the fillets in there. And then I soak them for anywhere from 12 to 20 hours. I never do it more than 20 hours because the meat starts to get a little punky if you do it too long, but it doesn't absorb the flavor if you do it for less than 12. So I usually do it the night before, and then I'll smoke it the next morning or in the middle of the day. So we soaked the trout last night in the brine, as the guy showed you, and that was 17 hours ago. So it's a perfect amount of time. Next thing we do is I take them out of the cooler and I put them on these trays, and then I take some pepper and I go ahead and grind the pepper over the top of them like this. And then once I'm done with that, then I add them to the racks here. We got several of them here. Between Rich, Sean, and I, we were able to come up with a good amount, so that way we could smoke a nice batch worth it. I use applewood smoking chips. I really like the applewood as opposed to the hickory and other products. And that goes in this tray here. And then this tray slides right into the bottom. This is a propane smoker. I really like it a lot. It's made by Dynaglow. I didn't buy it because of the brand necessarily. I bought it just because of the shape and size, and I wanted a propane, not a pellet. And I'm really happy with it. And then we also have a tray of water. I wrap it with aluminum foil. That just keeps it nice and clean so I don't ruin the tray. That goes here in the middle. Then we go ahead and we close everything up. Open up the flue on the top. Open up the bottom just to get it started. Later on I'll close those up. I turn this over to the light position. I hit my clicker. Then it lights the inside up. I usually have it about halfway between low and high, on medium there. And then I watch my gauge here. And I usually like to get it above 200, right into that gray zone there, between 200 and 250, and I'll keep it there for about a half hour. And then I lower the temperature and I'll keep it closer to about 180. And it smokes real nice that way. We'll check back in there in a minute and see how it's going. Once it starts to smoke a little bit and the temperature gets about 150, what I do is I go ahead and I close the top flue and I close the side flues up just so they're just open barely a little. That really gets the temperature up, and it also keeps the smoke in there, which really gets that smoke flavor inside the trout. And once, like I said, once it gets up into that gray area, I'll leave it there for about a half hour, and then I'll cool it back down and kind of cold smoke them for about an hour. So it's been at that temperature I was talking about there, about 220 for about the past half hour. So I just want to kind of show you what it looks like here. As you can see, it's plenty smoking, and they're starting to brown up nice. At this point in time, because I don't want them to dry out, I turn the temperature down and I cold smoke them for about another hour and a half. So I'll turn these knobs back down to about halfway, and then try to keep that temperature between the 150 and the 200. Takes a little bit of adjustment occasionally, but right now they're coming out perfect, and we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. So they've been in the smoker for about 2.5 hours, and I periodically check them because I don't want them to dry out too much. And because all the fillets are different thicknesses, some of them take longer to cook than others. This is about how I like them here to look when they're done. That way they're not too dried out, but they're not super moist either. I love that texture right there. They peel right off the skin and they're delicious to eat. So the last part is to vacuum seal the trout before we put it in the freezer. I like the trout to have a little bit of moisture, but not too much. I like it where you can just kind of break it like that. If it's too dry and leathery, it's no good. And if it's too moist, it's kind of slimy, and I don't like it like that either. I cut a piece out of the bag. I like to use the rolls, about 6 to 8 inches, and just slide it across there. This is a great model. This is a food saver. It's about $200. You can spend thousands of dollars on them. I bought the cheap ones. They don't last very long. This one's great. I've done thousands of bags with it between elk and fish, and it really holds up well. And I buy the expensive bags. It's well worth the money. The cheap ones, after they've been in the freezer for a while, seem to crack and leak air. Put the trout in like so. Because it's a roll, has kind of an arch to it, so I face the arch towards the inside of the vacuum sealer. Hit the little button, seals it up nice, and these last forever. I mean, I can't believe how long they lasted in the freezer. Occasionally we'll miss a bag and it'll get buried in there. Most times we eat them before you even have to worry about it because the stuff's so good, we love it. But occasionally I have missed them and found them like a year later, open the bag up, and it's still just as good as it was the week we put them in there. So that's how we do it. Vacuum seal them up, put them in the freezer, and even people that don't like fish love this smoked trout.